Hello, buddy. How are you?
Oh, just sipping on some chocolate milk.
That's crazy. What got you into that trend, man?
Just trying to get better.
Yeah?
I figured if I've only got, 95 days, I better use all the good stuff, headphones that pulsate your mind, to focus more, chocolate milk. Probably gonna start doing ice bath twice a day, some stretching before every workout, and yeah, that's probably about it. And then just a little bit of biking and running here and there.
Well, I think that I'm wearing my Dr. Dre headset, so
Oh, are you?
yeah, it's got really nice bass. You sound very bassy to me.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, what you're telling me, man, is it's not about the gimmicks here. It's about getting to work. And dude, I'm not gonna lie. I had to take a nap after that ride.
Man, I got to be honest with you. I'm shelled. I mean, I had a blast, and I'm pumped with my progress, but combining another threshold test with 95-degree heat, exposure, and winds in my longest ride of the year, yeah, dude, makes for a tired man. So I'm came home and grabbed a quick bite, did a few emails, some analysis, a couple of follow-up things, and go pick up Hayden. I'll do my run later. It's only 20 minutes, but it's about the consistency. So I'm gonna do it. And but yeah, I'm pretty tired.
Yeah, there's something about that. I mean, in your case, that first outdoor ride is always gonna get you a little harder, I think.
Yeah.
I saw a different look in your eye today than back in the prime.
Really? I felt it, but I had sunglasses on, so I'm kind of curious about how you. But what are you speaking of here?
Oh, I could just see it was sort of like this. I don't know. Maybe it was in your cheekbones or something that I could see. It was. They were drooping down a little bit. Like, holy crap, this wind! I'm not used to this.
Drooping
wind.
down? Itching like I looked like I was faltering.
Well, I just felt like I just felt like you were like, all right, well,
team in this.
2 hours is plenty. No, I mean you look great.
Man, well, all right. So much for Louisville. Maybe I should just do the aqua bike and then see what happens. I mean, I had a fresh haircut, fresh beard trim, feeling good, and now you are bursting my bubble. Thanks for the support.
Just break them down and build them back up.
Yes, seriously.
That's what you do in this game.
Break them down.
In all seriousness, though, man, how's your first week felt for you? We're going to Louisville. Oh, by the way, we are, 90? I don't know. We're on day 6 of 100 days of training for Ironman Louisville. We both signed up the same day, and we are documenting that journey daily by video and putting them up every day to our patrons on Patreon. And if you don't know what Patreon is, it's a way to help support us, not our triathlon game, but the podcasting, the video, the servers, the fees that we encounter, the storage, all these kinds of things to keep this sort of media blitz coming at you. And I mean, $3 to $5 a month or something like that, you can contribute and help us kind of finance and support this whole project, because we're spending a lot of time on it, but we want to make it our full-time gig, and that will be like a shot in the arm, definitely. And you get access to all these daily videos that we're doing, and a lot of people really dig them, and eventually they're going to be kind of out in the public, but we're not exactly sure how we're going to do that yet.
Yeah. I'll leave that up to you.
Oh, okay. Just make me the bad guy.
Well, you just made fun of my cheekbones.
I did. No, I mean they.
I'm just kidding, man. I was feeling it. I was, you gave me that you doing okay, man? I mean, given, I mean, for some context, we had done about an hour, and then Mike went off to go tinkle or something, and we went separate ways. And as soon as he took off to go use the restroom, um, I went ahead and started my threshold. So I did my threshold, and I got done. I was in my 10-minute easy in between, and he wheels up behind me like he's Chris Froome, and he's like, "Hey, man, you feeling okay?" And like he needed to push me forward, with his hand on the small of my back. I know I looked thrashed, but I did. I was going all out, man.
Yeah, I didn't
Going
know you
all
were
out.
doing that. I'm sorry. Yeah.
And then, but yeah, man, the second 8-minute interval I did, I came around that corner, the far end one that's a little bit more narrow, and then when I hit that wind, it literally blew me over like a half lane.
Oh
And I
yeah.
mean, totally took control of me. I was like, oh my God, Jesus. Um, just totally, I mean, yeah, I was not prepared for that. Whipped me good. So yeah, I was a little resentful that you said, nah, man, let's just take another loop back around the lab and then we'll cool it down. And, but I did it and I'm better for it.
Yeah, and we started doing the formal interview session of the video project today too, so that was cool. There's a lot of
Ele-
stuff going on, man. There's a lot
Elegant
going on.
backdrop.
Yeah, elegant back. No, it was like sort of a dramatic black backdrop, sort of in the
That too, yeah.
Fellini Hitchcock mode.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, so that'll be coming at you shortly too. But anyway, back to your thing. How's the first week working out for you? I mean, what are your
I'm
thoughts?
so excited to be back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I really can't honestly explain how excited I am. And it's
Well,
like,
try it.
it's just awesome. I mean, it really is. And maybe it's just because every other thing in my life right now is going so spectacular. It makes it, but it's great, man. Like life is awesome. I don't even really have a job. It doesn't feel like one, whatever the definition of a job is. I get to work with amazing athletes all over the country, all over the world. Um, Establish and have and cultivate these awesome relationships with people, help them in their athletic endeavors, hopefully also assist them in their life off the course. And that alone just fuels me to take what I'm doing personally in my training to the next level.
Hmm.
I've had some really awesome text messages from some specific athletes this week. I won't read them out loud because they'll sound too much like an athlete plug-in. But Trisha, who I'll see tomorrow, and Summer sent me some really really nice text messages this week, just the last few days about our coaching and athlete relationship, and I don't know, just it makes me feel just very grateful to be able to do what I do, the people I get to work with, and the fact that training for this, and I'm just rejuvenated like on a whole different level. I think moving back here has been we knew it was the right move to move back to Nashville, but everything else that's lined up, and then to have these people coming in for camp tomorrow, that I finally get to meet. It's just and we connected through the podcast. And it's like a full circle kind of thing, and I think Louisville is just an extension of that. And I had another friend of mine, or an athlete of mine, Kate Lopez, who texted me, and she was like, "So about next year, are you still thinking about Galveston?" And I was like, "I'm not thinking about anything past Louisville. It's just I got it zoned in, I got it geared up." And I think our case is different because we just started training, real training. You started just real training, I started training, period. But when I look at my watch and it says 95-day countdown, I feel like that's forever.
Mm.
And then other athletes I've had that text me that had the same countdown app on their watch, they're 95 days, and they got this big eye emoji, oh my God, it's almost here.
It's getting real. It's getting real.
I'm like, dude, 95 days feels like a lifetime for me. But no, man, I'm excited. I'm happy to be where I'm at. I'm rejuvenated. I know that after camp especially, I'll put in a really really solid week of training. So I'll need to really objectively monitor next week, so I don't run myself into the ground. But as it stands now, yeah, I am I wouldn't say I'm pleased with my current fitness, but I'm pleased with my current consistency. And that to me is the biggest thing. Is if I can make these next 100 days the most consistent, thought out, purposeful, and focused days of my triathlete career, then I think I can do really well. And that's what I plan on doing.
I believe in you, man. I think you
Thanks.
got it. Yeah.
Well, about time. You didn't like 5 minutes ago.
Oh man. I, well, I mean, the work.
I'm just joshing you, man. You're just mad because I dropped you today.
I know. You're right. Well, I didn't. I'm sitting riding along. I didn't even know you were doing a threshold, and I'm like, "What's he doing?"
I told you I need to get some quality in today, man.
Yeah, you did it. You did it. You dropped me, man. I'm not gonna lie.
I didn't drop you. I think you were filming.
I was not filming, man. I
Yeah,
was
just one of
sucking gas.
those non-courtesy drops of the tour where like you had a mechanical and I was like, bam, and I just dropped you. I was like, see, look, dropped a chain. I'm out of here.
Actually, what I thought to myself was, man, I'm like, man, he looks smooth, like he's not even trying, and you were just fading away into the distance. So there you go. How's that for a compliment?
I like it much better.
This is So essentially, this is week one
Mm-hmm.
of an Ironman training plan, and we're kind of, I've trained a little bit more than you because did a half about 2 months ago, but it's sort of like starting from scratch in a little bit, and so we're kind of feeling our way in. And for me, the whole thing has been about how do I be patient enough to not dive in too fast, and because I feel good, and I've been trying to just get to the pool a lot, and accept my results, and they have not been pretty, but they've been slowly inching up. I mean, it's only been a week, but I've had 3 swims, and each one's gotten a little bit better. And I've had that early morning-ish energy to go do something, and later in the afternoon, I like to just jump on my bike for a while, or go for a little run, or do something, like you said. So for me, it's about consistency too, early in the game. But it's going to flip quick because that's a long time, but it's not either. So,
Yeah, exactly.
But same place, man. I feel like the energy we're getting from everybody that's kind of supporting us and cheering us on and moving the right direction. And we talked about it today a little bit, but on our interview stuff. But it's just such a different story going into something like this, knowing that we're going to be around maybe 20 to 30 people that are going to be at Louisville and hanging around us and being, supportive and or racing with us. And it just seems like such a group. And I think that could be a lesson for a lot of people. It's just like, and I learned that, it is a lot better when you have multiple people, or you're connecting with people at the Ironman race, because it can be so much of a get there, rush around, do the race, and then it's over, and then you're like, what the hell just happened? And there's no sort of deeper level satisfaction with the whole experience. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to most, and I think that's what's driving me right now, and I think maybe you too.
Man,
it's about working out and getting the work done and everything, and going hard. And we've privately set some pretty lofty expectations for ourselves, but it's not like we're gonna take it for granted, just go do a race. We're gonna go after this damn thing, and it just makes it so much more gratifying to have a bunch of people around us and talking to us about it and knowing about it and things like that. So I don't know what your next step is.
Well, before I forget, if we get done recording this podcast and I don't do it or Mike doesn't do it, whoever is listening to this and is in our Crushing Iron closed group, will you please either remind us or make one of your own and make us a C26 Louisville get-together event? Because I would love to have everybody who is, whether it's Sunday night after the race, or Monday morning for breakfast, or Saturday breakfast or lunch, something to where we can all get together, whether you're racing, spectating, have family, volunteering, you're just in town, whatever it is, it'd be awesome if we could find a time to where we could all just kind of get together and hang out and meet and greet and put, not really faces to names, but meet people in person in general. So if we forget to do that for any reason, somebody else help us out, be a brother.
That'd be nice. Maybe some fancy ballroom or something.
Oh, for sure. That's all we do. That's all I do is fancy.
Yeah, or we could do it in our room.
All fancy all the time.
Do it in the room.
we can't fit everybody in our room probably.
Well, if we put the bikes in storage or something.
Yeah, it'd be kind of weird, like 40 people in a room.
Would it be cozy?
But sure, man. But sure, yeah, man. We'd have to all wear spandex and like suck in, but yeah, let's plan on it. Can't wait.
All right then.
Can't wait.
I
feel like you want to talk about training today. I'm just getting that vibe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't care. We could talk about anything. I was, I wanted to just bring up that little thing. I had that conversation with my buddy last night. He's a great cyclist. He's usually first off the bike or close in my age group, and it was just a nice little conversation about how I can be a better cyclist and things like that. And I just was curious about him because he does so well, and not only is he first off the bike, this is the second time, I think in 2 years or something, that he's qualified for Kona. So he pulls it all together pretty well. And he said something interesting to me that I think is applicable. And I gotta keep thinking about it to build this when I build up my bike. Is that when we go into the race, like the last few times I've done, well, every Ironman I've done, I've always felt pretty good on the bike, and I don't use a power meter, so I kind of keep it in. It's sort of this perceived effort mode that I have, and I'm like, well, this doesn't feel too bad. And then every time I get off, my legs are just not completely shot, but they're flat enough that I can't really do anything near what I hope to run.
Yeah.
So he brought up an interesting point that he's like, man, you train and you hit your peak, and then you get into this taper, and what you don't realize about your taper is that your body is obviously recovering, but it works. And when you get to race day, you feel better than you should, and it's an illusion. So he's like, you go out on that bike and you're all rested up and you're riding, you probably perceive your effort is less than it really is, and you end up exerting too much on the bike. And invariably, that's probably exactly what happens to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the good benefits of having a power meter or using heart rate is that you train in these and like you just got to stick with those zones, so you're not overdoing it. But yeah, you can. The goal is not to bike faster, is to come off feeling fresher and getting off faster, so you can actually run your potential.
Yeah, obviously. I just wanted to throw that out there. But if you want to talk about anything else, I'm up for it.
No, I mean, I think our training approach would be kind of a good. I mean, I've had some questions already, like how are you? The thing is like, I know this course. I don't have a reason to go ride it. I know it. I've done it. I'm excited for it. I'm interested to see what the weather may hold for like an October race. Should be interesting. But compared to, I don't know, I'm in a very similar situation as I was last year, as we kind of discussed earlier today on a ride. Is that, we this time last year, July. I mean, so Hayden will be July 20th, so he's coming up on 1 year. And so this time last year, I was not doing much training. We were just about to have the baby any day. We had just moved, so I was coming out of like just kind of a very inconsistent period. And that usually happens to me, especially when it gets just so effing hot.
Yeah.
That like I don't like even want to go get the mail. Like I'm just like, I'll just get it tomorrow, because it's so hot. It's just like it drains you. And then I think and with tired and fatigue and stress comes decreased motivation, and your ability to just create excuses is like at an all-time high.
Yeah, it's off the charts.
It is off the charts. And so then we had, so Hayden was born, and then he was in the NICU for 4 days, and Allie had a really bad labor and delivery, and it was just a rough time all around. I mean, it was it probably took me, to be honest with you, a good 3 to 4 weeks to just bounce back from it. I don't think I've shared this before, but the Hayden had such a rough birth that, like, they put him on the table and you're supposed to hear him, scream, and he literally didn't make a sound. And he didn't breathe, he didn't cry, and so they rushed him to the NICU, and so I had to go with him. And Allie's BP had dropped because she had an allergic reaction to the anesthesia. And there were moments in that time to where I didn't know if he was going to survive. I didn't know if this huge moment had been like that was, that everybody talks about, all this birth. You see videos and commercials and whatever, and you're like, it's not always how it goes. And so I went with him, and I remember I just like kissing him on his head, and he was under this lamp, and I was like, please breathe, please breathe, please breathe. And he didn't. And they rushed him back to the NICU, and I kissed Allie, and the only plan we had was that if something happens to go wrong, you always go with Hayden, no matter what. And so I went with Hayden and left her. It was just a really weird circumstance to be like, am I a dad right now? Am I a husband right now? Like, what do I do? Who do I stick with? What's the deal? But I went with Hayden, and then I remember like getting in there, and I was just kind of like, hey, what the F is going on? They had him intubated. He just wasn't able to clear the fluid from his lungs, and and he had gone without oxygen for a period of time. They just didn't know what the extent of the damage was. And so how doctors are, like, they're just so black and white, and so like their face can be like so like non-emotional, and I was like, well, so cut the doctor chit chat and tell me, like, what are we looking at? Like, I just need it like clear cut. She's like, well, best case scenario is, he's a fighter and he pulls through this and starts to breathe on his own and he's all good. He's like, next case scenario is, he doesn't start to breathe on his own. Because what happened is his CO2 levels were so high. If you're exposed to no oxygen, especially that young, it could do brain damage. And so obviously brain damage, it can do lasting effects, and you get all these kinds of disabilities and everything. And so she was like, so we may have to take him to Children's Mercy, and basically what they do is they freeze him. They freeze him like sub temperatures to slow down the effect it would have had on his brain.
Wow, man, that's crazy.
And they're like, and if that, so if that doesn't work, and then, worst case scenario is he doesn't make it. And I'm like, excuse me?
Oh,
like,
geez.
What do you mean doesn't make it? Luckily within, like, so I was there for a little bit. I left him, went to check on Allie. We had no family there. It was just us. And anyway, long story short, obviously, if you follow us on Patreon, you've seen or me on Facebook, you've seen how awesome and like a champ he's doing. He bounced back like epically because he's just a stud. But anyway, that whole like traumatic scenario, like, it took me probably a good month to even like just not get over it, but just like get it out of my system, because it was such a stressful like situation that I just built up in my body. And so anyway, so I didn't really get back to like even thinking about training for Wisconsin until like 3 weeks, and at that point it was just like whatever. And so anyway, to get back to what we were talking about, it's like, but I still managed to put in like some good focused time. And I ended up doing, fairly well at Wisconsin. And so I have a blueprint of what's worked for me in the past. Having said that, I have to be really, really careful this time, because I believe that I'm not carrying near as much fatigue as I was this time last year. Mm-hmm. I mean, this time last year I was bouncing around like 2:15, 2.5, 2 hour and 45 minute runs at like sub 8 minute pace as like my long run, just chilling. I'm not going to get to that point, and I don't know. It's hard to say, because I think my detriment on the run was that I just went out too fast. But still, I was top 100 overall. I was in the 1030s at Wisconsin. It was a super hard bike course. All things considered, like there were a lot of things that I did really, really well. There were a lot of things I didn't do well leading up to that. And so while I can take, there's this like 6 to 8 week training block that I've used in the past. That's pretty much like no change to it except for a little bit that I've used multiple times for myself. That has worked really well. Um, It'll be a little different this time around, and what I mean by like being more careful is that I'm so fresh right now and I'm so focused, and this is like the least amount of life stress I've ever had, that I can see myself easily overcooking it. And I don't want to peak in September. I want to peak on October 15th. I don't want to peak a day before. It does me no good, and so I have a rough outline. It's a lot of, and we talked about this again today, is like my long rides aren't going to be, piddle pedal fests. It's just they're going to be focused.
Right.
They're going to
Yeah.
have, if I go out and do 4 hours, I'm going to do an hour of easy warm up chilling, and then for an hour and a half, I'm going to do focused interval work at either tempo or threshold or whatever. And I'm gonna get some quality in, and then then I'll just take the rest of the ride easy and just kind of as I feel, because I that's what I have to do, and I think it's just better in general. I think it's great to get time in the saddle, and do these like long rides, but when you look back at them, sometimes you're like, what the hell did I even do today? Like, yeah, I was out there for 4 hours, but I only went like 50 something miles because I rode with a group of 15 people and we stopped 7 times. And I'm like, dude, if you're preparing for an Ironman and if that's your expectation of what you kind of want to do, which is totally fine, then go for it. If you're going to stop at every aid station and get off your bike and use the porta potty, go for it. But don't tell me that's a 4 hour quality ride.
Yeah.
It's just not. Because on race day, if you don't plan on getting off your bike, it's a totally different animal. So there's just a lot of things taken into consideration, and I'll be a little less. I'm going to be a whole lot about the bike, getting my swim to where I know it can be. In this, I'm lucky that we are going to have an easier swim than Wisconsin, being a wetsuit and a little bit downstream. So I still think I can, definitely get in under an hour, as long as I just keep hitting it. And yeah, so I mean, I just have to be careful, with minimal, stress is stress. We always talk about this. Stress is stress. Your body doesn't know a 10-mile run from a crappy day at work. It's just, stress has its same effect on your body, and it adds up. And it makes you fatigued and makes you feel overtrained, and affects you negatively. And so now that I'm not managing so much life stress with training stress, and I've got less life stress, doesn't necessarily mean it's time or appropriate or beneficial to apply more training stress. It's like, just because I have more time to train doesn't mean I should. Does that make sense? Like everybody has, oh, I've got 20 hours a week to train. Good for you. How about 16? Good. How about 14? Or more hours are good sometimes, but not always. It doesn't. That's not a prerequisite for success. So it'll be a careful balance, and just something I have to really be day to day on, and keep myself accountable and objective on how my body's feeling, and since I'm being so consistent, if that day comes that I feel like I just need to take a day off, that even though all these people are listening to the podcast or following the videos on Patreon or on Facebook, or the people, stalking me on Strava like creepers, you need to, I need to be able to take a day off and not feel like I have to work out because somebody needs to see that I do. I just got to listen to myself, stay focused, think of the big picture, and I don't even need to strike the match. I need to set that baby on fire on October 15th and not a day before.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point about overtraining, and I think, I see that so much. I see, that there's that danger of getting serious about triathlon and thinking that means you got to put in major work blocks. And like the pros, for example, who are pro triathletes for a reason, because that's all they do, and they get massages and they sleep in and they take naps and they eat like with nutritionists and all that sort of stuff. And then but these people like me or whatever will get in this mode about want to get serious and think that means just like 25-hour weeks all the time, and you include all your other daily stresses, and that stuff just mounts. So my thing is, like, I feel like I have the right base of ideas and ideals for my training, but what I need to do is just up the volume of my bike a little bit, to get used to some longer stuff. And not only longer stuff, like I feel like I'm fine, right, but like, and I'm good like climbing, but where I get into trouble in Louisville is a perfect example of a course like this, where it's not really like major climbing. I don't consider that like very hard, steep climbs. There was those couple hills,
Yep.
but they're gone. And I know there's going to be some pinchers or whatever, but those things don't bother me. They do probably more than I think. But what really gets me in trouble on the Ironman courses are the rollers, and the being able to hit those right and come over the top of them right, and those things just seem to wear me down over time. They're not like major hills, but they're just something that I don't get enough time with. And I think when we go out to the trace, when you ride the trace, it's kind of hard to lollygag the trace, because there's just an endless slew of hills and climbs, and just kind of tough riding in general. Where I like hammering up hills. That's just something I like to do. And you can have your recovery on the next downhill, but out there a lot of times you get into those spots where it's like, and I know not a lot of you guys people have probably been out there, but like that first 5 miles or so is usually the weirdest part for me, and even coming back, because you know what I'm talking about. It doesn't really seem like it has huge climbs, but they're all these just gnarly little sticklers that just kind of keep coming and keep coming, and that's the sort of stuff that I want to ride a lot more of this year. Rather, I do a lot of speed work out in that lab, and it's flat and it's real windy, and I think it's really great training. But it's just a matter of me keeping that consistency out there, doing the stuff I'm doing out there. But like, I gotta get the hill work, and get used to the gearing and just the approach, and just getting used to the feeling really of what it's like to hit rollers all the time,
Yeah.
And that's really kind of what Wisconsin does to you too. I don't know. I don't know if we ever counted that, but there's got to be 70 hills on that damn course or something, man. It's like
For sure.
every time you turn a corner, you're going up a little something, or a lot of something, and that stuff, like you're saying now, because we were talking about that one time, and it's that lactate threshold. Like when you hit those hills, you have to go hard, and that's over time. That's what, and maybe you can talk about that a little bit actually, because if you're, I don't know if you can. I mean, I guess you can prepare for that, but your lactate threshold sometimes isn't really something you can. How do you build that up? Or I mean,
well, I mean, it's we've talked about it before. I mean, you don't necessarily. I mean, last year at Wisconsin on Barlow, or whatever, you just did. There wasn't any choice unless you wanted to walk. So that was a choice you had to make. Louisville, there's not a hill like that. But there are a lot of times where you're going to be going out of your, what I would call zone 2 / conversation pace / endurance zone, whether it's power, heart rate, or feel. You're going to be going into that zone 3, which is the gray zone. And once you start to tip that scale from high end zone 3 to zone 4, which is most people's, some kind of a threshold, you're creeping up to the top end of the tempo, or zone 3 into the low end of that zone 4 threshold. You don't want, you want to stay as far away from that as you can. You want to have a ceiling. It's good to set yourself up with a ceiling from, for these races with hills, just to kind of keep yourself in a check. But having said that, as in the athletes that I coach will know this better than anybody, is that whether it's in the middle of the week or during their long training, I prescribe a lot of hill work, of threshold stuff. And the point of that is to not only make you faster in general. Not only make you a better rider when it comes to climbing and stronger on the hills, but it's also to get your body used to. I want to create a machine that is really, really prepared to absorb surges and punches. Like I don't want a fighter that's lean and can really kill it for the first few rounds, and then after they take a few punches, then they end up getting knocked out in the 10th, because they're not built to absorb these huge amounts of punishment that a lot of these courses can dish out. Florida, no. Arizona, no. Not even really to an extent, honestly, Chattanooga. Of courses like Lake Placid, Wisconsin, Louisville, Coeur d'Alene, who's about to go out the door. Like you have to be able to absorb these punches, and these rollers and these pinchers, and going to zone 4 and being okay getting back down. And like you teach your body that, and you don't teach it. You don't want to learn that lesson during the race. You want to learn it and absorb it and perfect it during training, and know how it feels and know how to bring it back and know how to gather yourself. And so it's about building, like we talk about it like one of the very first podcasts we did. I like to build resilient athletes. It is not how fast you go, it is how little you slow down. And you will slow down a ton if you are not prepared and your body is not trained to absorb a high, a lot of rounds of punches, which courses like Placid and Wisconsin and Louisville do. They just throw a lot of punches at you, and you got to be ready for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, I guess I got some work to do on that.
Hey, we all do.
We all do, exactly. And I think that, I say that, I can absorb. I feel like I can do that, and that's the weird part, is like I can do that through the bike, and then I just can't, it's that, and then this is science that I don't understand, but that lactate, I'm sure that affects my legs, obviously, right? It's like,
oh yeah,
that becomes my run, and I absorb that punch for 24 or 26 miles, and it's not fun, I've never really had that. And I'm sure most people deal with that same thing, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's like, it's a rare case when somebody gets off that Ironman bike and gets out there and they're like, yeah, I'm running now, and I feel like running. And they're running like they hoped. How rare do you think that is? Super rare.
Oh gosh, less than 10% of the field.
Yeah.
And I think 10% is generous.
All right, so what is that? That points right back to what, we've talked about many times, is that, you can be in the best runner around town, but if you can't run off the bike, what's the point?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. And a lot of it's patience on the bike, but in knowing it's patience, and it's not arrogance, but it's that really calm confidence of knowing, I know that, I don't need to go any faster, because what's 3 minutes here going to do to 20 minutes less on the run, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to go 10 watts more and blow my load and go 20 minutes slower on the run, or I'm going to save it knowing that I'm going to get off feeling fresh, and I'm going to fire on all cylinders, and I'm going to slow down much less versus if I do it another way. And that comes with patience, and it comes with training, and it comes with practice, and it comes with, if you're chasing, you just can't chase. You just can't chase. If you're listening and you got an Ironman, you got a 70.3, stop chasing. Stop chasing these these ridiculous numbers that you made up in your head. Quit chasing this miles per hour that I have to make on the bike because I got on TriCalc and I've got to do this and I got to do that. Where if I go sub this, I can do sub this. If I don't, I can make it up here. I got to be under 4 minutes in transition. You don't get to pick your transition spot. It could be 5. It could be 2. There could be no current. There could be a lot of current. You could have lead goggles. You could not. It could be windy on the bike. It could not. It could be hot. It could not. The run course may be super windy. They may run out of water at aid stations. They may be super hot. Guess what? You can't control any of it. What you can control is your execution on your specific plan and sticking to it. Commit to that before you commit to some ridiculous time goal that you may be not even close to prepared for, or you may have the ability and the fitness and have trained to absolutely obliterate it. So don't shoot for an 11 when your body might be prepared for a 10, or don't shoot for an 11 when you've only done work for a 13. And so take it as it comes, prepare for it, and when it comes to race day, just don't chase. And you can start with not chasing and training. Well, I've got to hit this to hit that. Like, you need to know these numbers, but don't analyze every damn workout. So many people do that. They want to analyze, is this good enough today? Or is this good? Or I'm like, listen, it ain't going to be fancy. Not all of it is. But guess what? I'll take 30 days in a row of non-fancy training versus 2 fancy days and a bunch of skipped half-butt workouts with missed days and excuses. Take your pick. I'll pick the horse that was consistent versus the one who had these 2 awesome practices. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. All right, so I got a question for you. All right, on that topic, because that's exactly what I've tended to do in the past, is chase, and a lot of times that chase on the bike is that sub 6 hours, and that's what I've kind of gone after. It seems. I mean, I've gone for some higher numbers, but usually it becomes like I got to get this under 6, and so my question is, what if? And how much of a difference could 6:10 mean between 6 hours? Is that a 5-watt difference maybe or something? Or
I don't. It's totally dependent on the
I
athlete.
know.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying you know me pretty well. So like, let's say 6. I mean, could
Unless
that?
it's probably
question.
between 3 and 5. Yeah, it's probably between 3 and 5 for you.
So a general answer could be that may make a huge difference. Is that 10, 15 minutes on the bike?
For a lot of people, yeah. I mean, you'd have to punch it in. I'd have to do some calculations and punch it in best bike split. But here's the thing: is the difference between a 5:30 and a 5:40 is massive.
That's what I'm getting at right there.
Yeah, it's massive. Because the longer it takes you, the less impact. The shorter a distance you're trying to do it is, the more intensity is going to be involved, and the more effort it's going to have to take. Like, to take 30 minutes off a 7-hour bike, you can do that in like 3 months, versus taking 30 minutes off a 5.5-hour bike. That's going to take some work.
Yeah.
And so the shorter, the less time you end up spending, the more it's a whole energy expenditure. So it's the thing. But yeah, that's a tough one to weigh. I mean, that's
well, that could be 10 minutes. I'm just thinking about it right now. 10 minutes could mean 10 efforts that I shouldn't have made.
Yeah.
And which could really add up. I mean, right? I mean, you're talking, if I'm going that higher 3 into the 4 zone 10 more times than I should, or I need to, that could really have an impact on the run.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's, I guess the point is, I just wanted to kind of see if, like you just said, between 5:30 and 5:40 is a big difference. I mean, that 10 minutes that you may lose on the bike could be enough to really disrupt your whole run.
Yeah, and the thing is, and this is where, having either somebody objective or having a coach comes in handy, is like, Ross, we posted in the closed Facebook group about his perfectly paced 70.3 split, and we adjusted his power because he was super sick the week before, so we just didn't want to do any more damage. We wanted to play conservative, and he said it perfectly. He said, was it my best run to date time wise? No. Was it his best run given the conditions? Absolutely. And that's the difference. And that also comes back to like chasing, is we brought his power down way like a lot farther down than he was at Rev 3 Quasi, and his normalized power to average power ratio was within like 4 versus I think it was like 25 or 30 at Quasi. And we knew he was going to be fatigued from being sick, and then we also knew it was going to be a really hot and hilly run. So our goal was to average around 220-ish for average watts. Well, did that cost him a minute or two on the bike? Probably. But did he probably gain at least 10 minutes on the run? Absolutely. He chased people down and moved up in his age group versus moving backwards when he got to the run. And so that's that give and take, and then that's that perspective and outside assistance or knowledge or fresh eyes or whatever you want to call it that you need, because the hardest thing to do is take a day off. The hardest thing to do is dial it back. The hardest thing to do is take it easy when all you want to do is go hard. And it all comes down to just being self-aware of who you are at that moment, because you know what? Even if you're coming in riding the horse you trained on, sometimes that horse just has a crappy day, or sometimes that horse has a great day, and you gotta be willing to either suck it up and roll with it, and accept the bad day, and take the 6-hour bike versus the 540, knowing that you're not going to blow up even worse on the run, and you're going to mitigate your loss, and you're still going to play it smart, and you're going to take it how it comes. Or you're on the bike and you're feeling like Chris Froome on 6 bags of juice, and you're like, man, I feel like I could go from 200 watts to 210 and be okay. Is that the risk? Is that really the risk you want to take, to feel faster on the bike versus sticking with the 200 and getting off the bike thinking, oh dude, I barely even feel like I don't even feel like I biked 112. I feel like I'm just ready to rock and roll. And so those are the decisions you have to make within the race that can really make or break a PR or a bonk or just a total debacle.
Mm-hmm. Those are good lessons, I think, that you can't hear enough, really, because I am proof of that to a large degree. Now, I don't know how I'm going to calculate this without. I think I just got to get a power meter, to be honest. I got to at least see what's going on here, because it seems as though everyone I know that has a power meter and that follows that strategy, it works out pretty well for them. It's like,
yeah, usually, yeah. I mean, or you could get too busy chasing numbers, which could be to your detriment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a big number chaser, but I would kind of like to at least benchmark myself, just to know, because I'm pretty sure, like, we were goofing around and you've got a power and I was riding alongside you and stuff like that. And, like, I just have no idea. I just know that I can suck it up on the bike and push my legs through a lot of pain, just because, and maybe that's just because I did a lot of mountain biking back in the day and I got used to that. And you know how it is. If you're just a cyclist, if you got to ride a bike race, you just go out and hammer it, and you build that sort of, I guess, the ability to fight back and fight through stuff, and then it's over. But it's not over at a triathlon,
Yeah, I mean, it's 3 sports, and you that's a great point. Is like you like the way you feel about cycling is the way I feel about swimming.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so Wisconsin, last year at Wisconsin, I've been fortunate enough because of my background and for a lot of other things, but I've swam under 1 hour at every Ironman for the last, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. And I knew that Wisconsin, that it was going to be a little closer to an hour, but my thing is I came out of that water feeling like I had barely swam. And so instead of chasing like a really, really low swim, which I've done in the past, I was conservative and it felt fresh. So I didn't push it, and I felt great coming out of the water versus, okay, I swam probably a little bit faster than I should have, but I was still really, really quick. And so there's, because I can go to this place and take the pain and swim fast, and it's just is what it is. Kind of like you on the bike. Doesn't mean that I should. I still came out of the water 38th overall out of whatever 2,500 people, which is, I would take, pretty good.
Yeah.
But I didn't push it, and that's why. And like you said, it all runs together. It's a domino effect, So it's up to you when you feel like it's time to push. And I think a lot of people have this fear, myself included, that I know the last 6-8 miles are going to be really painful. So whatever, I'm just going to start the pain now. Versus, wait, what if I just wait? What if I just wait to go through this pain and just go through it quicker? because you can want to go through it quicker all you want to, but if you don't have the legs and the turnover to do it, then it doesn't mean jack. And so I think it really is, and that's my goal for Louisville is to have that pain patience to where I know those last 8 miles are going to hurt, and as much as I want to chase and run and go fast these first 15 to 18 miles, I've got to believe and I've got to stick to it that I want to slow down the last 6 to 8 miles than anything else. And if that's my only goal for the race, I feel like I will have succeeded. Because I feel like I will be able to gain more time than time I would lose had I taken a different approach in a different direction and chose to just die. Because sometimes, to be honest with you, Mike, it comes down to when do you want to give up?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to give up and go all out in the first 5 miles on purpose because you know you're going to walk eventually? So why not just say, well, I just started out too fast and and I can't, I couldn't hold it and I biked too fast and well, hey, congratulations, you just made a really glamorous excuse, or playing it close to the vest and saying, I just want to execute.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to mile 18, I want to be ready to execute. And if it goes well, it goes well. And if it doesn't, I'm not going to use the first 130 or 135 miles of this race as an excuse to why it didn't.
Yeah. When you were saying that about the swim, the first thing that came to my mind was Andy Potts. Whenever I watch Kona every year, and those two, he's usually him and maybe like one other guy out in front just burying it the last 500 yards or 1,000 yards. And I'm thinking to myself, Jesus, is this really? I mean, I know that there's money at the end of that for the first out of the water and everything like that, so that may be their thinking process. But I always thought that. I was like, man, he is just gassing it right now. I mean, they're all out. And I know they're in a lot better shape, but that's got to pay. That's got to even at that level.
Well, the thing about Potts is that if you followed his career trajectory, he used to come out of the water 1 or 2 minutes ahead, and get on the bike and go. And he always failed and was not failed, but he always was 10 or 15th, and just was like, why can't Potts make it come together? Well, what he finally figured out was I don't necessarily need to do that.
Yeah, he doesn't need to crush.
He doesn't need to crush because he's going to get caught, and who the heck wants to ride alone anyway? Because you're going to get caught. So why not still swim fast, but come out of the water with another group? Maybe get your sponsor check or bonus by being the actual first person out of the water. But as you've seen, he's come down. He's been like top 5, top 8 in Kona the last 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's figured out that you can't win it in the swim, but guess what? You can lose it. Mm-hmm. And then that doesn't come with just swimming slow. It also comes with choosing to swim faster than you're actually prepared to do for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and I think about that too with Starkey on the bike sometimes. It's like, man, I don't know if that's a similar thing, because I don't know if he has the run really to be able to pull it off, but to go out there and just wail like that and then just, struggle every time. It's like,
mm-hmm.
But I think that's just more about being the fastest cyclist,
Exactly. Yep.
And there's a lot of value in that, I suppose, at that level. So
it sure is.
Anyway, so are you going running now?
No, Allie just got home. We're gonna go pick up Hayden together. Then I'll sneak in my 20-minute run a little bit later tonight.
All right, man. That sounds great. All right, thanks everybody. That is podcast 75.
Yeah, 75 in the books. If you haven't liked our page already for whatever reason, please like our Crushing Iron page on Facebook. If you want to be part of an awesome conversation, chit chat, and laughter, ask to join our Crushing Iron closed Facebook group. If you want to follow us on Twitter, search Crushing Iron. If you want to follow us on Instagram, you can search C26_triathlon. And if you have any interest at all in coaching, you can email me at c26coach@gmail.com for availability. And the swim analysis has taken off in a massive trajectory. So it's no longer like a 24-hour turnaround. It's now 48, 72 hour, because I've just had such an influx of people with all the awesome testimonials and improvements people have had I've been had inquiries and serving athletes like all over the world, and it's just had great feedback. So if you're ready to improve your swim for the long term and not just for a few extra seconds with a wetsuit and a swim, shoot me an email and I'll send you back the info. Same email, c26coach@gmail.com.
That sounds good, and I'll be the bad guy. So if anybody, and if check out our Patreon page and think about it, and think about what maybe the podcast means or the group or anything like that. If there's value there, like I said, if a few bucks or $5 a month or something like that really helps us out. And we've got a lot of stuff planned, So I appreciate everything. We appreciate everything you do, and just leave it at that, I guess. I don't want to be a huckster or anything like that, but it's just I want to make sure everybody understands that it's going for the fees that we're already incurring and stuff like that. So anyway, that's that.
Check you next time.
Thanks for coming in. Crushing
All
Iron
right, dude.
Podcast, over and out.
See you.
See you.